All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of David's Saturday Night Sit Back. Sitting back with me this afternoon is Emma Goldstein, who is a Gen Z Texas native and self-proclaimed pop-up culture junkie. She majored in radio, TV, film, and production design at University of Texas with a minor in English. When she's not hosting the Mankheads podcast, she's creating a sitcom with friends from her time in film school at UT Austin. There is also a service industry day job that actually pays the bills somewhere there behind the scenes. And then the Mankhead podcast is a show dedicated to all things media and Gen Z from Emma and her co-host perspective. Today, though, you are on your episode of DSNSP. Thank you so much for being here and welcome to the show.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. How was your Thanksgiving?
My Thanksgiving was great. Thanksgiving is actually one of my favorite holidays. So I was very lucky to get the day off of work that day because the bar I work at was closed, and I got to go home to San Antonio and spend the day with my family. So that was very nice.
Cool. Why do you think Thanksgiving is one of your favorites?
It's definitely, I like the food. I like spending all day in the kitchen with my mom cooking and stuff. Yeah. It's a good family-oriented holiday, and like my life very much so. Like my core like family unit is like very important to me. So
yeah, I'm in the same boat. I moved to Texas this year, and at Christmas time I was thinking about it, like what am I looking forward to most? And to your point about what you just said, it's Christmas Day cooking in the kitchen with my mom. Like the whole day will be awesome. She has a ping pong table. We're a big board game family. All my siblings will be there. Me and my siblings are spread out throughout Oregon, New York, Texas, California. So all of us being under the same roof at the same time will be cool. But just cooking with mom for a few hours is going to be a darn good time. And then we can make someone else clean up all afterwards.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah. You're a native Texan.
Mm-hmm.
You're maybe one of like 3 or 4 that's been on the show. And I haven't been meaning to do that or not to do that. It just, everyone's moved here.
There's a lot of transplants here for sure, yeah.
Where is San Antonio home for you, or where were you born?
So I was born like in the city of San Antonio, but I was raised in Helotes, which is a little town just northwest of San Antonio, actually. So that's Helotes, Helotes. It's like elote for corn, you know?
Okay.
With an H and an S at the end of it, so it does mean corn. Yeah.
What was growing up life like for you?
It was great. We lived, so we live about like 15 minutes from city limits, and we live out in the hill country on 8 acres out there. So it was, from a lot of people's point of view, and from mine too, it was pretty idyllic. Like it was a beautiful place to grow up. We also, our property backs right up to Government Canyon, which is a state park out there. So lots of wildlife, lots of nature. We would get lots of animals like passing through our property, which was really cool.
Nice. Siblings?
Just one, my older sister. She's 2 years older than me.
What's her name?
Her name is Molly.
Shout out Molly.
Shout out Molly.
Where's Molly at these days?
So she is in San Antonio right now. She's going to law school at St. Mary's.
Okay, cool. Why law?
That's a great question. So she actually studied textiles and apparel at UT. She wanted to do costume design for like movies and plays and stuff. But just through like studying textiles and apparel there, she kind of didn't find her people in that major, and ended up feeling like the fashion industry is just super wasteful and not something she wanted to be a part of. It's pretty bad for the planet. And all that. So after she graduated, she kind of spent a year, she moved home, she spent a year kind of trying to figure out what she wanted to do. And that was the year that COVID happened. So she also kind of reevaluated like what was important to her, and what she just realized she wanted to do something that was like more meaningful to her. And she was like, where is somewhere that I feel like I can make a difference? And that's why she decided to go to law school.
Cool. What, any fun stories from growing up with Molly? The last guest, one of his was that I guess it really triggered his brother if he stuck his tongue out at him. Like that was it. So whenever he wanted to irritate him, he'd just stick his tongue out at him and then run away, and his brother would chase him, try to beat him up, and that was his little story.
I don't know, too many to count, honestly, because she has been my best friend for my whole life. We didn't really have a lot of cousins growing up, and we also, like I said, we lived out there kind of isolated, so we didn't live in a neighborhood where you could just like walk out and like hang out with your friends. You had to drive to get anywhere, and your mom had to like drive you to your friend's house to go anywhere. So, and like I have cousins who are much older than me, and then one who was much younger than me, so like we always just kind of had each other. We were always each other's like buddies. So I can't think of like a specific story because there's just too many to count, honestly. Maybe just the fact that when I was very little, I thought that she knew everything. She was my like guide, my teacher, and I would listen to anything that she said. I would listen to anything that she said. So there was a time that, and I actually have no memory of this happening, but I got stung right on the palm of my hand by a hornet when I was a little kid because we went out and it was like flying around our swing set, and she was like, obviously we should throw rocks at it. So we started throwing rocks at it, and I took the fall and I got stung like right on my palm by a hornet because I did exactly what she told me to do. And there were multiple instances of things like that happening in my childhood.
When I was 7 years old, we were eating breakfast around the table, me and my brother Mark and my sister Melissa, and my brother says, David, there's a hornet on your face. And I was 7 years old at the time. And so what do I naturally do but take my hand and just smash my face?
Oh my God.
And so as the bee was dying, I guess it like it took and then reinserted its stinger 7 times. Because then when they took me to...
Oh my God.
I don't think it was the ER, just the wherever it was that they took me, they were like, yeah, you didn't get stung once. You got stung 7 times. So now I have like an even bigger... somewhat rational fear of bees than the average person, because I don't think most people like bees, but when I see like yellow jackets specifically, it makes me very uncomfortable.
They have really nasty stings. They can.
Yeah.
So what about just like bugs in general? Are you like anti-bug? Some people are very like afraid of kind of all insects, you know?
No, I think they're sort of cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like them. Like in my home the other day, we had a roach or a cockroach in here, and I wasn't very thrilled about that. But most bugs are. I think bugs are pretty cool.
Yeah, me too. And like I said, like growing up out in the country, like there are a lot of bugs out there. Like we have centipedes, we got like big tarantulas. You have to get the big green grasshoppers. You have to get used to like seeing bugs out there. We got scorpions, we got brown recluse spiders, like we got it all. So people would come out to my house like friends when I was a little kid, and they would be freaked out by all this stuff out there. And I'm like, oh, this is normal to me. And we also have like it's just a thing in my family. I think my parents are definitely a little bit like quirky and eccentric. I think that's why I love them. Like they've made me who I am today. But we have this thing, I call it our cabinet of curiosities. We have like a cabinet full of like just all kinds of stuff that we've collected over the years, including a bunch of bugs that we have like found on our property, like Luna moths and stuff. We don't kill stuff to put it in, like we find it and then we put it in. But like rhinoceros beetles, Luna moths, giant centipedes, tarantulas, like whatever, we've got them in our collection.
Rhinoceros beetles.
Oh yeah, they're really cool looking. Like those kind of, they're like, I don't know, like this big, and they're like these maroon beetles with a little horn. I
think the only thing you said in that list that I didn't like was the brown recluse.
Yeah.
Because aren't those poisonous?
Like they'll bite you and it'll like, your flesh will start like rotting.
Have you ever got bit by one? Okay.
Luckily, they've shown up in our house like my whole entire childhood, so I don't know how we avoided it. I did get stung by scorpions as a kid though.
A couple times. You've rendered me speechless. What is it? Is it just like a bee sting where it's just like a little prick, or what happens when you get stung?
Yeah. It happened a long time ago, honestly. From what I remember, I was like cleaning up something under, like I had been playing under my bed or something, and I crawled under there to like grab some toys. So I was like a kid, and I like on my knee, I like kneeled onto a scorpion, and it stung my like kneecap. And I just remember it like, it stung, and then it kind of throbbed. We put medication on it, and I went about my day because like there's nothing else you can do. But it wasn't that bad.
Have you seen either back home or here in Austin the super fast daddy long legs that I think only really come out at night?
Are there ones that are like faster than others?
They're fast.
I mean, we have a lot of daddy long legs out in Helotes, so I've seen daddy long legs. I guess I didn't register as. Oh yeah, I guess they are kind of fast. They are. So
I'm walking. It was right around the time that daylight savings times changed. And I take that out for a walk, and I bring a flashlight with me, and it sort of it's a pretty weak flashlight, so you just get like a small circle in front of you, and like skittering across the ground was this daddy long leg that was probably like this high off the ground, and maybe its circumference was a little bit smaller than the candle, so it didn't look dangerous because it was so skinny, but it was moving so fast, and I was just like, I don't like that.
Yeah, they are like, I mean, I've just like, I played with daddy long legs when I was a kid, so I'm not afraid of them at all, but I do know that they are like, I think they are venomous spiders, but they have such tiny little bodies and mouths that they actually can't bite us, so they are not a threat to us, but they are venomous.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You said that your parents played a big role on who you are today. In what way?
Oh, In every way. I think they're cool people. I'm really glad that I had them as parents. Like part of the reason that I'm in Austin right now is because both of my parents lived in Austin at different points. My mom went to UT for grad school and my dad went there for undergrad. So they were always talking about their glory days in the 80s in Austin. Obviously, like 2010s, 2020s, Austin is a very different place than 1980s Austin. But so I like got there and I was like, this is a little different than the way they described Austin to be. But they're just cool. Like they were friends with like a lot of musicians in Austin. So they were always like up in that scene and they would take us to visit Austin all the time when I was a kid, and they would always take us to concerts. And I've seen so many people that like so many people be jealous of just because my parents like took me to concerts when I was a kid. I saw Paul Simon when I was like really young.
Nice.
I've seen the Rolling Stones and Bruce Springsteen and like the Grateful Dead, like lots of people just because my parents were like, we're going to go to this concert. And I was like, okay.
Heck yeah. I love that for your parents and for you. Yeah. I one of my questions for you was I saw that you've been to Austin City Limits multiple times. Mm-hmm. You saw Fleetwood Mac in 2015. I definitely got the feel that either you or perhaps your whole family, which now confirmed, are big concert people or big music people.
Definitely.
If you had to pick one, what was one show that just like knocked your socks off?
You know Brandi Carlile?
I'm so sad to say I don't. What would be Brandy's like top song? I might know their music.
The Story. I'm like, all of these lines across my face tell you the story of who I am.
I don't think I do.
Okay, no, that's fine. Don't worry about it.
I'm sad now.
No, it's fine. I love Brandi Carlile. We actually discovered her. I'm going to take credit for this, actually, because my sister was really into Taylor Swift when we were kids. And one time at the Scholastic Book Fair? One time at the book fair, I bought her a book about Taylor Swift. And in it, she talked about how she liked Brandi Carlile. So we started listening to Brandi Carlile. And I would say, like, her music is akin to, like, I think she's like a descendant of like the Indigo Girls, who is another one of my favorite artists is the Indigo Girls. And kind of like Americana, like modern folk rock kind of music. And we saw her at the House of Blues in Dallas, and it was just an incredible show. Like, it was great. She's an incredible singer and live performer.
You ever cried at a show?
Yes, but
not because of the music?
I mean, yes, because of the music, but it wasn't even an artist that I knew. It was because I went to ACL on shrooms in 2019. And I didn't even know who this artist was. We just sat down in front of her set, and she just had good vibes, good festival music. And at some point, she just says something like, this one's for anybody who misses home. And at the time, I was a sophomore in college, and I was still kind of grappling with the transition of, like, accepting that I didn't live at my house that I had like grown up for my whole life, and was still kind of finding my place here and like finding myself here. So I still missed home like a lot at that point. So she says that, and I was just like, and I just sobbed. I just started crying in a good way. It was good. It was like It was emotions that I needed to let out. But yeah, it wasn't because I like knew the song or the artist that well. It ended up being, and I'll be the first person to admit that I have a preconceived notion about Christian rock, and if I had known that going in, I probably would have had an attitude, but it turned out to be this Christian rock artist, Lauren Daigle, and she has a great voice and good music and good festival vibes, and she made me cry.
What's your preconceived? So I grew up Christian, and so we were Christian to the point where we were not allowed to listen to any non-Christian music. Okay. So as a teenager, like Toby Mac and oh man, I'm not going to be able to remember any other ones at the moment, but it was all like Christian rock bands. And then I remember when me and my brother started listening to like real music or like other music, we were like, oh my God, we're never listening to Christian music again. Like Fleetwood Mac, what? You know, there's just so much good music out there that we weren't listening to after we moved out. So I'm curious, what is your preconceived notion about Christian rock?
I mean, maybe it's more of a preconceived notion about Christianity in general, but and this is something I've had a very hard time relating to people on in life, but I was raised agnostic by my parents. So both of them were raised as Christians. My mom, I'm not sure, she grew up like just outside of Houston, so I think they were something Methodist or something like that. And my dad is from England, so he grew up in the what what is it, just the Church of England, like the Anglican Church.
Okay.
And both of them, as young adults, like around 11 or 12 years old, independently of their families, just kind of went like, this isn't for me. And they raised me and my sister just like without religion. They didn't raise us to be like anti-religion necessarily, but they just raised us without it. And I had some negative experiences when I was a kid, of just like people being mean to me about that, when I was like, I don't understand. I just like don't know these things that you were talking about, or, you know, I just have a different view of things. So it made me build up a little bit of like a shell about it, like a little bit of an armor about it. And I can get like defensive about it sometimes, but, more so when I was like younger, when I was like in middle school, I would get very like, don't come at me for having different beliefs than you. But, yeah, I guess my preconceived notion would just be that I was like, it's just not for me. Yeah. You know, but I see Lauren Daigle at ACL, and she really spoke to me. She said something that like really meant something to me, and her music really touched me. So, yeah. Yeah,
no, it's if you there are still, I will admit, I don't think I've told anyone this ever, like amongst friends, family on the podcast. There are still like 3 or 4 Christian songs that every now and then I'll turn it on just because it's such a beautiful piece of music. Like at this point, I don't really know where I stand with my faith. I don't know if I believe in God. I don't go to church. I'm very much like removed from that just for similar reasons, just like bad experiences, and it sounds like similar to your parents. It just wasn't for me sometime around, I was like 21, 22 when I stopped going to church. But if you have a good piece of music that just stirs something inside you, like it is what it is, you know?
Yeah. Well, earlier you said like, oh, when we discovered real music, and I'm like, don't even say that. Don't even say that. Christian music is real music.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I take that back.
It's just a different type of music. Yeah.
Do you ever do ASMR?
No.
Do you know what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. I listened to one today. I really needed a nap on my lunch break. So I laid down in bed, got the dog, and we turned on this like 21-minute ASMR, and he just like whispers into the mic about something, just random stuff. And today he was talking about how if you're raised as a kid to think that an ice cube is called an apple and an apple is called an ice cube, and then one day you go out into the world and you see an apple and you're like, oh, look, there's that ice cube over there, and people make fun of you. He's like, it's such a weird thing to make fun of people for, because they don't know your past, and they don't know, like, you literally don't know. Like, all you're doing is just living by these rules that you were taught, whether it was by your parents, your siblings, wherever it was you grew up. And so he sort of had it, was just talking about like, one, you know, try not to be hard on yourself if people make fun of you, and if you're the person doing the making fun of, like maybe pause for a second and consider like why you're passing judgment onto this person. But it was like really beautiful 20 minutes. I ended up not even falling asleep just because I was so like listening to what he said. Yeah. But agnostic means you don't believe in anything, or what? Remind me what that means exactly.
I mean, I don't even know if I know like an actual definition for it. I mean, I'm just like, I just have like the beliefs that I have or don't have, I guess. 'Cause like atheism is like just like without God, right? And I think agnosticism is a little bit more open than that. It's like open to the possibility of this or that, but like skeptical. I don't know. That's how I would describe myself. I used to describe myself as an atheist, but that has very, very negative connotations, and people will go like, And there are a lot of atheists that are very dogmatic. My dad can be one. He can be a little bit dogmatic about his beliefs. More like in defense than anything else, which I get because like I said, I had a couple of negative experiences. Like, so I remember going to my local carnival as a kid, and me and my friends like stopped at a booth. I don't know why we stopped there. We stopped at a booth that was like associated with a church, and this guy, this like grown man, is going through me and my friend and her older sister and going like, have you been saved? And they're like, yeah, because they were Christians, they went to church. They were like, yeah. And I was like, at this point, I'm in 4th grade. I don't even know exactly what that means. So he gets to me and I'm like, no. And he starts like going off on me, and I'm like, I'm a child. Like, I'm a child. It made me cry. Like, I was just like, I don't know what's going on, you know? And I'm like, why are you berating me? I'm a little kid. I don't even know what's going on. I don't even know what you mean. So I had just like some weird experiences like that. I actually remember a very specific conversation that happened around the lunch table in 2nd grade where somebody just decided to ask, because, you know, like little kids are so like unfiltered. They will just say whatever, which I love.
Yeah, I do too.
And somebody just went like, so do you guys believe in God? And like, we're in 2nd grade. We're like 8 years old or something. And I was the only one that said no. But in a very pure, like childlike way, nobody was mean to me. That was like the one time I can remember that happening where like everyone was just like, huh. and then we moved on with our like days. Whereas like I get to middle school and people start to find something like that out about you, and they start like having an attitude towards you because you're different than them and whatever. But like when we're 8 years old at the lunch table, nobody cared at all.
Right.
You know, which was nice.
Yeah.
But I haven't had an experience like that since then. Like,
real quick. Agnostic, at least according to good old Google, is a person who believes that nothing is known or can be known of the existence or nature of God or of anything beyond material phenomena. A person who claims neither faith nor disbelief. That's sort of where I'm at right now, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I guess...
I probably lean slightly more towards atheism than that, but at the same time, I have this thing that I do like to say, which is that like I have had experiences where I was with somebody, like, so there was a time actually, like, I don't remember when this was, last summer, summer before, where I was in Mexico with Kasdan's family, and we went on this excursion where you were like out with the whale sharks and you could go like swim with them and stuff. And his mom was like, I feel God, like God is here right now, whatever. And I was like, I feel the exact same thing as you. I just don't call it God. Nature like is God to me, or, you know, I just describe it differently. And I do believe that there is like, you know, we're all like here for some, like, I mean, even if it's not a non-reason, but like we're all here. So like, I don't know. It's hard for me to put into words because I've never really had the language, you know, to describe it. But I'm like, yeah, I feel like we're all connected, and like as a species, with the other species on the planet, with like all of nature and the universe. But I don't call it God. I just call it, like, I'll say the universe when I'm talking about something sometimes, or nature.
I say the universe a lot too, and because I have a hard time saying I don't believe in God, because when you are raised on it for 22 years, you know, we went to church every Sunday, we prayed before every meal, youth group on Thursday nights, Saturday morning men's Bible, whatever, like, and then we're also in a Christian school, so we were praying beginning of every class, we had chapel every Wednesday, like, it was our whole fucking life for 22 years, so trying to like, I guess, maybe it almost feels like I'm denying something I shouldn't in a way. But I agree with you 1,000% that I also don't necessarily believe in coincidence, because, for example, someone who I have this delusional belief that someone who is a teenager that's having not problems, but they're having difficulty reconciling their religion or agnosticism with their social life will hear this episode, and they're going to find a lot of encouragement and hope through what you're saying. So I don't believe like you said yes and you showed up here by coincidence. Or is everything really just dumb luck? You know, I don't know. It seems there's some things that just seem like, no, somehow this was maybe orchestrated a little bit, or, you know,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
I like saying things like, oh, it was kismet or serendipity. Those are like two of my favorite things to say about something, like a happy coincidence or just like fate happening. Even though I'm like, I don't even know if what does fate even mean, you know? But like, I do like to think that like things happen how they should happen, or how they're supposed to. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree. Especially like, I think too, if you, I don't want to sound cliche, but like if you're working hard and you're putting your best foot forward every day, some people might say like, oh, David and Emma, they're so lucky to have podcasts, but we also like work our butts off. Like there's nothing about getting to this moment here that was lucky. There is a lot of editing and interviewing 46 other people before meeting you. And I do think that if you have a goal and you're genuinely putting some effort to get there, that life sort of has a way of then rewarding that.
Yeah. That said, I have been kind of falling off lately with my podcast, but I'm trying to get back on it. I've just been very busy lately, and my motivation and drive definitely like ebbs and flows a little bit. And it's been a little bit harder now because I'm also like transitioning to doing it by myself, which is just different. I'm having to, I mean, I always did a lot of the like planning, and I always did all the editing and stuff, but now it's very much so like just on me, and I'm getting a little like self-conscious, and now I'm like, oh, what if nobody cares what I'm talking about? Or like, oh, I don't know. Oh, can I ask you, like, so how many siblings did you say you had?
5, including me.
Where do you fall?
Middle?
Okay, interesting. Do you find that like any of those like things that like stereotypes that people say about like, oh, the middle child, like apply to you? I'm just curious.
What's one of those stereotypes?
I don't even know. Like,
do you know what one of those stereotypes might be?
You know what I mean? Like maybe you're like you always have to be like the mediator kind of, or like I don't know. You know what I mean? Because I'm the baby of my family, and I definitely like got some perks of being like a baby of my family, and I know it. And some of things about my personality that as I've gotten older, I've just realized like makes sense because I was the youngest person in my family.
So again, back to Google, popular culture imagines that they are forgotten, rebellious, unable to measure up to their older, younger siblings. In fact, stereotypes often tell us that middle children aren't as smart, connected to the family, capable as leaders, or likely to follow rules. I will say that when it comes to the rebellious piece, I would do the opposite of what my dad wanted just to piss him off.
Okay.
So I could fall into that stereotype a little bit. There is this running joke that, well, I don't know if it's a joke to my 4 siblings, but they always say that I'm our mom's favorite.
Okay.
That's always been a thing, to a point where when I came out and told her I was gay, she cried, and it brought us even closer. And they were like, you're not a Christian and you're gay and you're still her favorite? Like, this is so unfair. And so I don't know if that's a stereotype, and I also don't know if it's true. Me and my mom have always been really close, and when she was going through a divorce, we had to get, the 3 older kids had to give some testimony, I guess you could call it, about which parent should get custody or split custody of our 2 younger siblings. And like, I threw all my weight towards supporting my mom. And so I don't know if that's being the favorite is a stereotype, but yeah.
Just curious. I don't know. I'm like, because I'm the baby of my family, and I'm like, I'm the baby of my family. There's definitely things like like I said, I just came to realize as I got older, like I'm not the most extroverted or like outgoing person. In fact, for a lot of my life, I've been a very shy, anxious person. And I feel like I definitely started to come out of my shell like a lot more in college. But I realized at some point, and that was just because I like really had to go out of my way to like find a social group in college and stuff. There was a time in college where I think my sister was like visiting a friend over spring break who was like studying abroad. So it was the first time I ever did something with just like me and my parents and not my older sister during spring break. And at some point my dad makes this comment to me like, wow, like you're really articulate. And I was just kind of like, yeah, like thanks for noticing that. Not that he thought I was stupid before or something, but it was like he noticed that I like had thoughts and opinions, and I just kind of realized that like whenever I was with my whole family, I always kind of relegated myself to like the back seat because I was like, well, I'm always the youngest person here. Like everybody knows more than me, and their, I don't know, opinions somehow must be more valid than mine. So I would just not speak up when I thought something about something, and I have gotten over that. Like I talk a lot now, and like my family has very good conversation, which is something that is nice. We can talk about anything, like all kinds of topics. But yeah, it's like I started to be able to express myself more around my family as I got older, and they were like, oh, like you have thoughts and opinions and a whole personality. Not that they didn't think I had a personality before. Oh, like the microphone.
That officially is on the episode.
Yeah.
He's never, well, as you know, we're usually over there. And so he can't jump on that table, but he's never climbed on the couch like this before. He likes you. I have
that's funny because I just have my kitty.
That.
No, he's good. I'm actually going to take these off.
Sure.
I don't think I need them. But, hey, you, what do you want? I don't have any treats. I don't have anything. Earlier you said you, like, took that on a walk, and for a second I misheard you, and I thought you said, like, I took that on a walk, and I was like, what are you talking about?
Just that.
Just that.
I took that. It's just a random that, you know?
Yeah, just that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Thad, you are majorly disrupting this episode, my boy.
No, right. I like dogs. I just don't lick my face, please.
Come here. You can lick my face. Can you sit? You want to sit down? Take a nap with us?
Look,
Take a seat. Take a seat. There you go.
Yeah, he just wants some loving.
Yeah, he gets neglected during these things.
I grew up with both cats and dogs, so I love them all.
You mentioned, what do you get anxious about?
Oh, anything and everything. I'm very self-conscious, so like I'll just overthink like anything I say or do and be like, I mean, I think this is a very like common joke among my generation, but like, oh my God, I'm being perceived. Like, just the thought of like somebody having an idea of me as a person is like terrifying sometimes. I'm like, what do they think about me? What are they saying about me? Like, are they thinking about that one thing that I said as much as I am right now? Like, I just overthink things. So I definitely experienced a little bit of like social anxiety, especially when I went to middle school. I found it very difficult to make friends and stuff. Not that I didn't make friends. Like, I ended up having a very close, like, tight circle of friends in middle school, which was lovely and uplifting little group of girls. But I don't know. Yeah, I've spent a lot of time. I went backwards at some point. Like, when I went to high school, I felt like I got knocked down a notch, and I had to like gain confidence in high school. And then I moved to a different city to go to college, and it felt like the same thing. I kind of went back, and I had to like remember that I felt like I was confident and worthy of people's attention, and like that I could like make friends and stuff. So I don't know. I don't know. I overthink stuff.
Yeah, still to this day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's funny that you started a podcast, just based solely off what you just said about, because it does, we see how many people listen, and so it just doesn't seem like something someone who describes themselves as a little bit more introverted would necessarily do. And so one thing I wanted to ask is what was the original idea behind starting it?
I was definitely emboldened by my friend Diego, who I started it with. What are you singing for?
I was going to say, he's throwing your focus off, huh?
A little bit.
Yeah, let me get rid of this guy, as much as we love him.
I'm like, you're very cute. What are you doing?
Hey, Dad.
What are you doing? You're burrowing?
Hey, Dad. You want a treat?
You okay?
You want a treat?
Oh, he knows what that means. How old is Thad?
He's turning 5 next month.
Oh my god, he's so cute. So he moved with you from Sacramento?
Yep.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah, I packed up what I could in the trunk of my car and in the back seat, put him on the passenger seat, and so sold, gave away, and dumped everything else. So,
what did you ask me?
What the original idea? Why you guys started the podcast?
Yeah, I was definitely just emboldened by my friend Diego, because we love to just like hang out, and we would always hang out at my apartment and just like sit on the couch and shoot the shit and talk about whatever and like espouse our opinions about random things. So we were like, you know what we should do? We should start a podcast. And a completely original idea that nobody has ever had before. And we were like, yeah, we're going to start a podcast. And just like, we love listening I think our original like trailer for the show was like, we like listening to ourselves talk. And we were like, maybe somebody else will too. They don't. Like, very few people listen to our podcast. But yeah, I don't know. It's like I already spend a lot of time talking about the things that we talk about on there: movies, music, pop culture, etc. So I was like, I can definitely come up with episode concepts, and I have ideas and opinions about things, so I'll be able to talk about stuff. It's definitely been harder making this transition to doing the show solo more often is like interesting, because it's like different when you don't have somebody to bounce things off of and you're just talking. It's making me want to pivot a little bit more towards the YouTube, just because I'm finding more success on there, but also I think the kind of stuff that I do is a little bit better for YouTube. Like, I just realized like I should make content that like I would consume, and videos that are a little bit more like a video essay with lots of like visual supplement is like, that's my jam. Like, cause I'm talking about all these random movies and stuff. I want to show you what I'm talking about.
Right.
So yeah, I'm kind of pivoting towards, it was just us being like armchair critics of things and being like, let's just put our opinions out there.
I love it.
Why not?
Well, I know you said your motivation and is sort of ebbs and flows to the podcast. I watched Bottoms and Guts, which is it was great. And people clearly loved it, because you got thousands of listens or views. And a couple of things to know. One, you did an amazing job. So you can do it, and you can do it well. So as you're going through this transition, if it ever feels like weird or you're wondering like, is this good? It's good. You did great.
Thank you.
And two, if it was on Spotify, it would have been completely different, because I don't always. I'm one of those people where I do throw most of my podcasts on the TV, even if I'm not necessarily going to be watching, because then if they start talking about something, I can look over and see the reference.
Yeah.
And 5 minutes into yours, I ended up pausing it, finishing what I was doing, and then just sat down and actually watched it because you added so many visuals in there. It's like, I want to watch this thing. Plus, your studio set up really nice, so it was easy to look at. And I was looking at like she's got those lights in the background, and the podcaster in me was thinking about like future sets and like what I liked and how you had things set up, and the image was super sharp and clear.
I definitely can't take credit for that. He has helped me so much. My boyfriend has helped me so much with like figuring out how to set up, and like he taught me a lot about editing on Premiere and all that stuff. So he has been a huge help in that area.
Shout out Kasdan, who is sitting behind the scenes. So if you guys wonder who the random person is we keep referencing, there is someone actually here. We're not just like talking to the walls or
I'm like, I realize I keep looking at him and I'm like, y'all can't see that, but he's over there.
No, I'm glad he's here. And also, I was gonna say there is a comment. Did you see the comment that the one lady left? I don't remember her exact words, but on Bottoms and Guts, she just said something like, how your what you were doing really encouraged her, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, that's cool."
It's really nice to hear. Yeah.
And do you know who I'm referencing?
I don't remember which exact one you're talking about. That was like, so that's my most popular video to date, and it was the first video where I started getting comments from random people going like, "Hey, I like what you're doing. Keep doing it." Whatever. Which was super encouraging for me. So I don't remember exactly which one you're talking about, but there were lots of really nice comments on that video that I really appreciated.
It was Sally Alame. Hi, I just wanted to say thank you for this. I know you're going to get recognized by so many more one day. Just keep on being you and posting these incredible, professional, and entertaining videos. You know who Sally is?
No, that makes my heart very happy, though.
Yeah, that's awesome. That makes my heart happy, too. Why, do you have any idea? I did a quick just scroll through of all your videos. Why do you think that one took off as far as views go?
Relevance, period. Like, that's a note that Kasdan has been giving me for this whole time, because I just make episodes about like whatever the fuck I want to talk about, and he keeps being like, you need to like make episodes about topics that are relevant, that people are like looking for that thing right now. So Bottoms and Guts both came out over the summer. I was like, these are both very teen girl pieces of media. Like, I think they pair well. I'm going to make an episode about them together. And I guess people were looking for reviews of Bottoms at the time or something. So it just like, they started clicking on it. They also like YouTube ended up, like, I guess they realized what the video was about and that it was like clean content and also like a positive review of Bottoms. And so they ended up like, you know how you can watch movies through YouTube? They ended up being like, and they like put like the movie like, oh, you can watch Bottoms over here. So YouTube liked it. I don't know why.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've never thought about what YouTube likes and doesn't like. That when I saw it, so it was interesting because when I saw your review of Bottoms, there's another podcaster who did a review of the Joe Rogan Experience, and I was really curious to see what he said, because I'm like, this guy, I know a little bit about him, and I know he doesn't know Joe, so he's basically just, watched a few episodes, and on the Instagram page, like, I don't really know what he did, but he basically just, like, shit on Joe's show for 10 to 12 minutes, and I noticed that it only got, like, 50 to 60 downloads or views, however you want to say it, and I did wonder if, like, YouTube maybe, because I figured like just the fact that he has Joe Rogan in the title, my assumption is that this guy's probably just doing this to
get views.
Like, does he actually care to give Rogan a review, or is he just trying to get people to see his podcast?
Oh, I see that name. I'm gonna click on it.
Yeah. But then when I saw that there's only like 54 downloads, I thought, I wonder if YouTube almost like recognized that and was like, nope, we see what you're trying to do.
I was gonna say, I'm like, I think YouTube likes Joe Rogan, so if there was something out there like being super negative to her, not that I'm saying that like YouTube is this like singular entity that like makes choices.
One person works there,
Yeah. But I do think that like YouTube does like Joe Rogan, because that's the platform that he got really popular on, right? I don't really, I'll be honest, I've like never actually consumed a full episode of his show, but I think that's the platform that he got popular on, and so I'm like, I think YouTube likes him. So if someone just made a video bashing him, it has to be a really well thought out video for it to do well, probably. And people click on it, they go like, oh, you're just being a hater, and then they click off of it.
Yeah, a couple minutes into it, I could sort of, I had a feeling about what he was doing, and I didn't finish it. I was like, I don't care about this. Yeah. It's not what I thought it was going to be. But I just brought that up to say, where on the flip side, your review of Bottoms was so well done. I ended up buying it and watching it just because I wanted to watch it before you got here today, so we could talk about it a little bit. But no, you did a fantastic job. And the one line from the trailer that I forget if you said it or if you like muted yourself real quick and that the clip play. But when the principal calls the untalented and ugly gays to the office, please. I was laughing so hard. I was like, in no planet. Well, hopefully nowhere there that's actually happening, right? Like, it's so ridiculous. You're just like, you can only laugh at it.
Yeah, that was one of those things that made that movie so fun, was because like they were like, hey, this is a movie. Like, right. You're in a teen movie right now. Like, this is not anything even near reality. This is just like our fantasy of like a high school movie.
What was your favorite part about that movie?
Probably like the female like friendships, like the camaraderie between the girls and them like starting their fight club. I wish that they would have like honestly had a little bit more about, because I loved the movie, like, but I think that they like honestly could have had more about like the attacks that were happening on the girls and like why they really like made that fight club. Like the whole crux of the movie is that like this thing is happening in their town and girls are getting attacked, so they make a fight club. I mean, obviously the two main characters like had ulterior motives,
right?
But I don't know, I think they could have touched on like a real world issue like a little bit more, but that maybe would have taken away from how fun the movie is, which I really enjoyed. So, I think the female friendships, I loved like the two best friends going out, and I think they're both really great actresses. So.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
I won't say what it is because it is such a brand new movie. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but the scene at the end on the football field was just so wonderful.
Beautifully choreographed. Yeah, it was gorgeous. That was a ballet. Like it was wonderful.
Yeah, no, good movie recommendation for sure. So go look up the Mankheads podcast, Bottoms and Guts. Start there. Where if you had a place for people to start, what episode would you want them to go to first?
Probably that one, honestly, because it's done so well. I feel like I got the hang of what I was trying to do in that episode. So Bottoms and Guts is a good one. Probably that one, honestly. But I mean, I told you Deep Cuts, and like I like to recommend that one to people just because it's like my favorite random kind of topic that I've covered on the podcast that is very much like my niche interest. Yeah. So I also recommend that one to people.
It was good. Yeah, it was fun to listen to. That one I did listen to. I on YouTube. I wasn't able to watch it. So if you guys were doing anything flashy, I didn't see it, unfortunately.
Oh, really?
But it was a very entertaining 48 minutes, however long it was. Yeah. So Bottoms and Guts, 37 minutes, 48 seconds. If you had to give me a ballpark, how long do you think that took you to create?
I don't know.
When you include editing and just all that stuff.
Probably like 8 to 10 hours, I would say. I over scrutinize those. See, this is what I was saying. Like I like overthink things. I will take way too long to edit stuff sometimes because I'm like, I'm just not the fastest editor. It's like not my natural thing. I have to really work at it. And remember how to do stuff sometimes when I'm doing it. But also just, because I sit there and I like overthink and I'm like, do I need to cut that part? I don't know. Like I'll keep going and then I'll go back and be like, no, I think I should cut that. And like, I don't know. So I would say like 8 to 10 hours of me just like sitting in front of my computer.
I feel like
overthinking it.
So I'm on the opposite end of you where I started podcasting a podcast. They're like, oh, you have to edit this? What? And so I sometimes do the bare minimum and then I will look at it after it's on YouTube and then I'm like judging myself because I'm like, you could have put in a little bit more effort. So I feel like there's a middle ground where like I could increase a little bit. You could probably scale back a little bit. But
definitely.
Again, too, like I said, it was a wonderfully produced video. And I think the fact that you got 4,000 downloads on that one, it wasn't just what you were talking about. It's all of that little stuff that you included.
Yeah, definitely. Well, so like when thinking about like the Deep Cuts episode, I love that episode a lot, but it's like fine that you just listened to it because that was kind of right at the point where I started to like start adding more images to my videos and stuff. So that one has some more images than previous episodes, but like Bottoms and Guts is the best example of like where I'm trying to go with the podcast now, which is more, like I said, kind of video essay like. So I don't remember what I was going to say, but at all.
We are just max digressing right now, and that's fine. We were
fine.
talking about sort of how many hours did it take for you to edit? I do probably too little. You might potentially do too much. But then I said, but it worked out because bam, views.
Adding all of that stuff to the video, like lots of text and images and stuff, of course, adds like a lot of time. But it even took me a long time to edit the episodes when we didn't even have a video element, because I would go and just listen to them over and over again and cut out every that I didn't like and whatever, which is, I've scaled back because I just like know that that's not necessary anymore. I'm like, I think something that I like about your podcast is the kind of unfiltered like quality of it. It's just a conversation between two people. So like, I don't think you need to do a ton more, honestly. Like, I like what you're doing. We just are doing different things.
I appreciate that very much. For me, it's not even editing. It's I re-listen for the clips. So I try to set a goal to post once on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok every day. And so I just don't like this conversation in my head. I'm just focused on us right now and where the conversation's going. I'm not thinking like, oh, that thing that we said 5 minutes ago would be the perfect six. So the only way to find those is to listen to them. And then sometimes I'm taking a 12-minute piece of that conversation and whittling it down to 59 seconds. And that can take a lot of work, because I know like, okay, in this 12 minutes here, I know this is what Emma said, and I want it, but like, I have to get 11 minutes out of here. And so some of this is so good. And then that's what, and then trying to take it to where it looks like it was all actually one solid minute and not jumpy. That's what takes up a lot of time.
Yeah. You said you try to post on TikTok and Reels like once a day.
Yeah.
That's really impressive. Keep doing that.
I appreciate that. It's funny. I just yesterday, I got someone new who, just commented and was like, I'm so glad I found this channel and this particular episode, through your, YouTube Shorts. And I was like, oh, people actually, what?
This
is insane. So yeah, it takes and again, that's, I think, like the side of podcasting. You were saying earlier, have this original idea of starting a podcast. It's like, well, where are we going to find listeners? I never really put thought into that. I thought I would just put it out there, and amongst the millions and millions of podcasts, people would just find mine. I'm like, no, this thing's buried.
That's how it works.
No one knows it's here except me and the guests and Thad. So, yeah. Are you, what have you been do you want to grow it, or what sort of, from a marketing perspective, what sort of your thoughts?
Yeah, I would love to. I'm getting back into like the swing of things right now. So I kind of took a break, even like actually in between the time that you reached out to me and now, like I kind of have been on a little bit of a hiatus. I released like one episode in between there, but I wasn't satisfied with it. Okay, see, this is what I'm saying. I'm an overthinker. So now I'm like, I took that episode down and I'm probably going to split it up into two shorter like episodes, so it's a little bit more digestible. And I actually earlier today, I like recorded an episode that I've been trying to get out. It's going to be a review, like a dual review of the new Priscilla movie and then the Elvis movie that came out last year.
Cool. Okay.
I'm trying to follow suit with that because that did well. And I'm like, if I can find things that pair well, that I can like connect to each other in my analysis, that's good. So, yeah, I'm definitely trying to grow it. And I'm going to kind of put my nose to the grindstone, because there was a time where I was making reels and stuff, but I've never been consistent about it. I've never even been consistent about posting episodes. There was a time where I was good about like once a week or once every 2 weeks, but I just post when I post now, which is like not good. I know it's like, I know audiences want consistency. That's like literally, if you look up like how to be successful on YouTube, like the main thing is like consistency. And I haven't been great at that. So I'm trying to get back to it. And definitely like the pivoting towards YouTube. So we were talking about like how like things just get buried. And like for 2 years before this, or like maybe a year and a half of the podcast before this, we were only posting on Spotify. And that honestly like got us nowhere. Like people are not finding us through there. I'm also learning how to like write the descriptions though, so that when people search for stuff, they actually find my episodes where I'm talking about that. I've been learning all along the way, but now pivoting towards YouTube, like the algorithm just likes what I'm doing on YouTube better than on Spotify. Spotify just, I don't think is the right place for me maybe, or something. Like I need to grow my audience here. Or like I started posting TikToks and Reels and stuff, and like they'll get views sometimes. So like I'm trying to do more like video content. Video is just kind of where it's at now.
It is. Yeah. I don't have a ton of data points because it's still a newer podcast. I think episode 43 3 just came out, but YouTube in and of itself gets more downloads than the 16 audio platforms combined.
Insane. Yeah. And we're only on Spotify, I think. I mean, I think we might be on Apple Podcasts and maybe Google or something, but like I kind of only check the metrics on Spotify, and nobody listens to us on Spotify. It's YouTube is where it's I'm just like, I've realized, I'm like, okay, I should turn my attention to where people are actually paying attention, and it's YouTube for me, not Spotify.
You know what's crazy is there's even 2 episodes, one that got like 700 listens and the other one got 300 and something, and on YouTube, and on Spotify, the one that did 700 got like 50, and the one that got 300 got like 4.
Wow. Yeah. It's just different. Yeah. Different game.
Yeah. That's backpedal a little bit. We are going to come back to the podcast and the comedy show and all that. Okay. But you were a med student originally.
I mean, I was going to be. Like, that was the plan.
Where'd that end? I
was like never a med student, just to be clear.
Was this just like you took some sort of medical related class in high school and thought, oh, this is fun, I could do something like this for life? Or
no, my dad is a doctor.
What kind of doctor?
So his specialty is called physical medicine and rehabilitation. So, and often people are not sure what that means. They're like physical therapy. And I'm like, they're a little bit different. He works with physical therapists, but he himself is not a physical therapist. He deals with a lot of people who have had like strokes, spinal cord injuries, brain injuries. That's kind of like the more like hefty stuff that he deals with, rehabilitating people. And when COVID happened and people were in the hospital on ventilators and stuff, when they were getting rehabilitated, my dad was their doctor because he's a rehab doc. But he also, like, on the more everyday side of things, he deals with a lot of patients, like elderly patients who have had like knee and hip replacements who have to recover and get rehab after that. So, yeah, he's always been a good person to have because I ask him all of my medical questions and he usually has an answer for me, which is nice. And that was the kind of thing where, like, when I was a little kid and people would, you know, because I don't know why people, I think it's just maybe it's very American that we're always asking little kids what they want to be when they grow up because we're so like career oriented here. Right. But I would always just, like, my default answer when I was a kid was doctor. I was just like, I want to help people, like my dad, whatever. And, you know, there was a long time in my youth where, like, people were asking me, once I kind of grew out of that phase and I started to have my own interests and explore things, and I was like, oh, I kind of like photography. Oh, when I was in 4th grade, I had like a stint where I was like really into forensic anthropology, and I was like, this is what I'm going to do with my life. Obviously, this is the thing for me. And, you know, I got all the way to like my junior year of high school, which is when you start applying for school. Right. And I was like, oh my God, I thought I had time. This whole time I've been like, I've got time to figure it out. And I got to that point and I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing with my life, which, you know, in retrospect, I've realized that you don't have to know what you're doing with your life right. when you're 18.
Yep,
but
totally true.
I'm having to apply for college, and I was just like, you know what? Yeah, let's do biology on a pre-med track. Like, I'll be a doctor. Let's do it. I think the thing that convinced me was that I really liked. Did you ever have to read The Hot Zone?
No.
So The Hot Zone is a book. I don't remember his name. I think it's Richard Preston, maybe. Who this guy writes like nonfiction novels that are kind of have a narrative, like it seems like a fictional narrative, but he tells like the true story of like diseases and stuff in like a novel form. It's really interesting. It really got me into like epidemiology. And so it was like for a high school class, English class, we had to read The Hot Zone, which was all about Ebola. And I read another book of his called The Demon in the Freezer, which was about smallpox. And I was like, these are really interesting. You know what? Maybe I'll do epidemiology. I'm going to go to med school. And I applied for UT as that. But I remember even when I was writing my like entry essays for college, I was just kind of like, this feels fake. I feel like I'm trying to make myself sound like I want to do this. Like there was something in the back of my mind that just knew like, maybe this isn't right. But I applied for that and I got into UT as a biology major. And I came to orientation and I was already kind of having doubts. I was already starting to have like a little bit of like, I don't know, is this the right thing? And I get to orientation and I talk to my advisor and I'm like, hey girl, and listen, I don't know if I think I might need to switch majors. and it was really lucky for me that my because she was a College of Natural Sciences advisor, it was really lucky that she had happened to be a dual major in, I think, mathematics and also radio, television, film, which is like the film major at UT. And so she was able to advise me, and because that was like, I already knew like that was the thing I wanted to switch to. I think I had been scared to say that that's what I wanted to pursue, because obviously it's like a viable career path, but it's not a traditional career path whatsoever. And it's not something, like that's not what anybody in my family does. And I didn't really have any experience making anything. I just really was a big film buff. I love like media and pop culture, and was like, I love talking about it. I would love to learn more about the film industry and just like film history and whatever, mostly film history. That's like a lot of like why I wanted to go to film school. And I just kind of had in the back of my mind, like, I think that's something I want to do, but I was like afraid to say it. But I talked to my parents about it, and they were like, we want you to be happy and like do what you want to do. Like go switch majors. It's okay. So after talking to my advisor, who very luckily had also had experience with radio, television, film, she was like, listen, girl, this is what you need to do. You're going to get your core classes out of the way and then take some classes that will help you get into RTF when you want to switch majors. So I spent my freshman year as a biology major who took no classes having anything to do with biology or science or like anything, and just kind of worked my way towards keeping my grades up. The really lucky thing about UT is that their film program doesn't require you to submit a portfolio. That was the good thing for me, because it's like, if I had tried to go to like a different renowned film school like in California or something, or even in New York, like they all like require portfolio,s and I would have had nothing to show. I just love movies.
You're like, I got grit.
I'm like, I got
I'm a
grit,
hard worker,
and I really like movies. Let me in, please. So it worked for me that UT literally just works off of grades, which is kind of crazy. I'm like, maybe they shouldn't do that, honestly, but it helped me out because they were like, hey, you spent your freshman year here having really good grades and getting your core classes done, and even working on some credits that were just like not the core RTF classes that you needed because they're restricted to RTF majors, but other classes that you needed to fulfill credits as a Moody, like College of Communications student. So once I applied, they were like, yeah, you're good. You got good grades. You can do this. So I was able to switch my sophomore year, and yeah, that's how I went from being a bio student to a film student.
I love that story. Two comments for you. One, you know how you said earlier, you were talking about how like kids just, have no filter. They're just very innocent. And also how we have this tradition of asking them like what they want to be when they grow up. I used to work at a daycare and a gym, and they had like these 12 outfits that the kids could put on. And this one girl that was like 6, 7, 8, something like that, she puts on the doctor's outfit, and then she comes over to me and my coworker Sam, and she's like, you guys know what I'm going to be when I grow up? And Sam says, you're going to be a doctor. And she takes the doctor's outfit and she whips it off over her head and throws it on the ground and says, I'm going to be a stripper. And then just walked away. And we were like, what is going on in that house where like she sort of actually knows what that implies in a way because she took off but like, what does her mom do? Like,
what does she know about
what movie did she see? What TV show were the parents watching? Like it was wild. So there, hopefully this was back in 2006. So this kid is like 26 now. Yeah. So hopefully her life went in a different trajectory. But something I wanted to ask you, as you were saying, like maybe Austin shouldn't just be based off grades. And Kasdan was like fiercely shaking his head no in agreement with you, I think. But why do you think they should potentially change that?
Well, actually, I don't think that they should, because like it helps people like me who like have a passion for it, but don't necessarily have the experience to back it up. I think that's one of the great things about UT's film program is that it's very much like, oh, you don't know this? We're here to teach you about it. Which is something I really like about them. But that said, like someone like my boyfriend who, so he was a CAP student for UT, where you go to a different UT school, like in the UT system your first year, and then you're guaranteed a spot in the College of Liberal Arts at UT your second year. Gotcha. And if you want to go to a major that's outside of that, you have to like apply and get like approved, as opposed to like you just get automatic admission to the College of Liberal Arts after your first year. So he moved to Austin his sophomore year of college and wanted to do RTF. And did they reject you the first time? Yeah, they rejected him the first time, even though he's been making stuff since he was like 12 or something, you know, and I'm a person who had absolutely no experience making anything, and they let me in because I just had like really good grades. And that was it. And I was like, that just doesn't seem right. It doesn't make sense.
Right. But then at the same time, it's like what you said, you're like, boss, so don't change it for other potential RTF majors out there who don't have that realization until they're in college. And then they're like, let's pursue this, even though it's not traditional. Interesting. Give me a second. There's something that you said that made me think of a question, and now it's gone. Oh, so when you got into college, did you find yourself conducting yourself in any kind of different way to build that sense of community? Or because you mentioned that, you know, in like middle school, you were sort of reconciling your religion with your friends, and then you almost like reset in high school, and then you go to a different city, and now you're at a new school. Was there any part of you where you almost felt like, oh, this is a chance for me to sort of not reinvent yourself, maybe? I'm not saying like you weren't true to yourself or you weren't hiding yourself, but you're going to a new city. I don't know, just was there any kind of shift in thinking of like, this is a fresh start in any kind of way? But also not to make it sound like you had a bad time growing up, but just like, I don't know. Do you get what I'm getting at, sort of?
Oh, no, definitely. I don't think I got to that point until my sophomore year of college when I switched to RTF, actually. So my freshman year, so my sister's 2 years older than me. She was already going to UT, just another reason that I was like, obviously everyone's going to UT, like I'm going to UT, right?
Yep.
I came my freshman year and lived with her. We lived in an apartment together. And she was already kind of past her like partying, going out, doing stuff like phase of college, and she was just like chilling at home, like hanging out with her best friend. And I very much so, and I don't regret this at all or like resent her for this at all, but I very much fell into like her lifestyle my freshman year, where I didn't really go out much. We kind of just hung out at our apartment a lot and watched movies together and cooked food and like whatever, and just like hung out a lot. So I didn't really and like I said, I did kind of regress socially. I found it hard to like put myself out there my freshman year, so I didn't make a ton of friends my freshman year. It wasn't until, and I think part of that was also this kind of uncomfy feeling of like, I'm not in the major that I want to be in yet. I'm like not in the place I want to be in yet. I don't know how to make friends in these classes that kind of have nothing to do with anything I really want to do. And I also had a couple of good friends from previous years who also came to UT. So it's like, I had my sister, I had a really good friend from middle school who had also come here. So like we hung out a lot my freshman year. Another friend from high school was here. So it's like, I found like people who I just already had. And I was like, you guys are my people. Like, I'm not going to go out of my way to find anybody else because I'm scared of rejection or whatever. But then sophomore year came around, I switched majors, and I joined a film frat.
Yes,
is where
a film frat.
Literally had to rush it and like all of that stuff. They actually call themselves a society now. Don't get it twisted. It's a society called Delta Kappa Alpha, DKA. It's a professional cinematic society. And I was new to the major. I didn't know anybody, and I was starting late. So I was like, I need to make some friends. Yeah. Let me find an org. I found DKA. I started to rush it, and that's how I met my boyfriend, Kasdan. It's how I met a lot of my friends, almost all of the crew that works on our sitcom Subletter. Like, we all met through DKA, actually, in college. So that was really the thing that made me, like, get out there. I built my social circle from that. It's something that I'm like, I'm really grateful for that experience. I also like hate thinking about like, I don't want to think that like I don't know, maybe I have like a little bit of an attitude about sororities and frats and stuff, and I'm like, oh, people like buying their friends or whatever, but that doesn't mean that you can't get genuine friendship out of a situation like that, and I have with all these people. I wish that I would have been able to just put myself out there in other social situations, but like that was the avenue for me to like go meet people where I was like, okay, well, here's a place where I know that we all have at least one thing in common. We like movies. Yeah. So that was how I really started getting out there socially and started going to parties and all that kind of stuff. And lots of friendships blossomed from there. Yeah.
Yeah, I was never part of a fraternity, but I do have one friend. He's going to school in it's whatever the biggest school in Nevada is. It might even just be like the University of Reno or something like that. Okay. But one thing that he wanted to change is people. He wanted to change like the idea that frats is just somewhere to go party. And so he hasn't drank since he's been in college. And one thing that he's also really big on is making sure that all women feel safe at like any parties they throw or events that they do. And I really like where his head's at, and he's not letting, like, he doesn't care even if he's the only one that cares. You know, he's just like, this is what's right. College does not need to be a 4-year drunk fest. And I also want women to feel safe. And I'm like, dude,
that's really cool.
Fuck yeah. Like, good for you. I want to get him on the pod one day, so we'll see. But what was I going to say? Oh, for you, you know, for me, I know that I grew in college and like changed in some ways, but for you, it almost sounds like it was like a turning point for your life. You met your boyfriend, you met you found out what you were passionate about. The podcast sort of came about from it, Subletter, like it's just so much. So I imagine your life looks quite different now than it did like 4 years ago.
Definitely. I don't think I could have predicted like where I ended up after. Which, I mean, I'm not even working in the film industry. I think that's where I thought I would end up. But then I went to film school and realized that I wasn't actually that interested in like the big industry. I took this class called The Business of Hollywood, and it kind of turned me off of Hollywood. I was just kind of like, I don't know. And also it's in a state of flux constantly. And I kind of realized that like whatever idea I had of the film industry, like isn't what it is. And it takes a lot of hard work and grit, and not that I like don't think I can do something like that, but I just was like, I don't want to go to Hollywood just so I can work on like the Meg 4 or something that I just don't care about for other people for nothing, like less than adequate pay, and be overworked and underpaid, like in an industry that is notorious for that. So like I was like, I would prefer to just make the things that I care about, like my podcast and my show with my friends, that we're just doing on our own, you know, like that is more important to me, and like putting out the stuff that I truly, truly care about, which isn't anybody else's stuff. It's just mine and my friends. I don't remember why I was saying that.
I basically brought up, oh, you were talking about your. I brought up that for you, college really changed a lot, and then also you brought up the doing business in Hollywood. Say it again. What was the name of the class?
It was called The Business of Hollywood.
The Business of Hollywood. Yeah. So is that how you found out about long hours, low pay, and then, or what was sort of the eye opener in that class specifically?
I think it was just coming to understand how much the industry is changing and has been changing, and how like you have an idea of what the entertainment or the film industry is, and it's like whatever you thought it was, it's already like 20 steps past that, because it's constantly like changing. And I just kind of was like, I don't think I need to go, you know, work for somebody else as a grunt man for like 10 years in California where I can barely afford to live, just to be there. I think that like it wouldn't have been enough for me. Actually, it was like a choice that I had to make, where thinking that I could maybe do med school, and then kind of getting to college and being like, I actually hate the idea of having to do chemistry and physics in college. And even though I think I could do it if I really had to, I don't know if I would be happy at all. And so it's this kind of thing where like, yes, I had like a teenage fantasy of like moving to Hollywood and being in the film industry and stuff. And I just like kind of grew up and was like, it's not as glamorous as it seems.
What are you said the MAG for?
Oh, the Meg.
The Meg.
The Meg. You know,
what's I've never heard that term before. What's that mean?
The Meg was just like one of those big action thrillers about like a giant shark. Like the you know,
the movie,
Meg,
literally.
The Meg. That was just an example, like the Meg 4, like, or some like Marvel movie that I don't care about, or like whatever. Yeah.
I almost, so in the accounting world, there's something called the Big Four, and it's these four companies that sort of dominate everything, and then all the other companies just like pick up the scraps in a way. And so I almost wondered if the Meg 4 was like, so I didn't even think of the shark movie.
Sorry for the confusion. I just gave a random example.
No, I could totally see though, now that I'm getting to know you more, and now that I've consumed some of your stuff, it makes 1,000% that you are not that type of person to go work on. And we're not slamming that movie. The Meg was it was cheesy, but it was entertaining as hell.
Yeah, it's fun.
But I could also see why there's a group of people where that might be the dream. And then there's someone like you who's like, no, I want to put out content that actually matters to me. And making a movie about a giant shark eating hundreds of people is not.
It's just not that. Yeah.
It's not going to get you out of bed in the morning.
No.
Let's talk about then what you are working on, which is, I don't know where it went in my notes. Subletter? Subletter. It's on, first 3 episodes are out on YouTube?
Mm-hmm, they're on the Mankheads YouTube channel, which is where my podcast is housed as well. Yeah.
What's it about?
I should have worked on my little elevator pitch before I got here because I've been trying to describe it to people lately and just absolutely butchering it. But
real quick before you start, Kaz, would you mind taking the extra blanket and literally just like throwing it over his head?
Is that what he wants?
Yeah.
That's so cute.
I appreciate you.
Oh, no, man. That's awesome. That's very cute.
Oh, maybe he didn't want it. Maybe I misread him.
It's a fun little aside.
So it could be July and 108 degrees out, and you will find him underneath that blanket at all hours of the day.
It's comfort blanket.
It's his thing.
It's like his blankie.
Yeah, totally. There's so many little things about him where I'm like, you are such a child, and this is one of them.
I'm gonna tell you about Subletter, but did you have a blankie or anything like that?
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
I didn't have a blankie, but I had a stuffed animal.
What was the stuffed animal?
He was a little green dog, and I came up with my own name for him. It was By Stink. Everyone's like, what are you talking about? And we had like an argument about it actually in my family. And I was a kid. They were like, no, my sister was like, no, it's spelled B-Y, stink. And I was like, no, it's B-Y-E, stink. I don't know why. By Stink. Like, I don't know why that's what I named him, and he came with me to Austin. He's here.
Nice. Mine was a Mario blanket.
Cute.
So it just had like Super Mario with his fist up, and then there's one of those yellow question mark boxes with like a star coming out of it or something. But yeah, we were a huge Mario family, and that blanket is definitely long gone.
Oh yeah. I was never gonna let By Stink go. He's gonna be with me forever.
You're gonna have to get like a case or something for him. Is it a stuffed animal? Like cotton, not cotton.
He has like the little beads in him.
Okay, like little, a Beanie Baby almost
kind of vibes. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Like that. So Subletter.
Yes.
So Subletter is a sitcom about a bunch of people in their 20s trying to adult in Austin, basically. They're college students who are, I think like one of the things we've used to describe it is like it's a bunch of people who are confidently wrong about everything. So one of our like model shows and one of my just like favorite, I'm like, I will die on this hill, like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is like one of the best sitcoms that's ever been made, ever aired on television. And that's definitely a model for our show if you're like curious about like the vibe and the characters. They're kind of shitty sometimes, but they have good hearts. They're like trying their best, but they get things wrong a lot, which is kind of just the reality of being a young person and like, you know, trying to get it right, but sometimes getting it very, very wrong. And of course there's like a film bro twist to it. Like 2 of the people in the house, it's 4 roommates in a house, and 2 of them are like very, very film bro. One of them is this girl who is not sure what she's trying to do. She was an engineering major in college, but is kind of like, I don't think that's for me, and she's trying to figure it out. And the other is the Subletter. The titular Subletter is played by my friend Diego and former co-host of the Mankheads podcast. And
go watch it.
He is an English major who like moves in with these eccentric like group of friends and is like, oh my God, like they kind of have to convince him to stay. So yeah, you know, it's kind of just about like the reality of like living in Austin right now. In our experience, we all came here for college, so it's kind of just about us.
And so you guys, Austin's a big part of it. You do try to make, either if they're outside of the dorm, you make sure to shoot stuff so that people can tell it's Austin. And
we've definitely started to incorporate that a lot more. And as we're working on a very like serious like pitch for the show, Austin is like an integral part of it. Like the location is definitely a huge part of it.
Is this what you want to feature, if that's the right word, at South by Southwest? Because that's something you wanted to be. You wanted to be in the next South by Southwest from a professional standpoint, right? Not as just an attendee.
Yeah, which I've never even been an attendee, but I would love to. I'm like, even if we don't get, so we have submitted it to their like television portion of the South by Southwest, and hopefully we get in. We should hear in December, so fingers crossed.
Okay. Do they have like certain requirements, or is it sort of just like you apply and then?
I don't remember. I mean, they were looking for pilots, so we submitted our pilot episode, and I really don't think there were that many. I mean, I'm trying to remember if there was specifically a sitcom thing or if it was just like television pilots, and there really were not many requirements. It was just kind of like, I mean, besides like trying to keep like copyrighted stuff out of it.
Right.
Not really. There wasn't even a time constraint, which I thought was crazy. I'm like, I'm sure that they favor things that are shorter, but not really. They were like, you have a pilot of a show, like submit it.
How long is the pilot? Do you remember?
I think it's around 35 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
It's 28. So we have 3 episodes, and like a couple of them are over 30 minutes, but that one is 28 minutes long. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. What's your role specifically? What are you doing for the show?
Kazan and I co-produce, and we also both sit in on the writer's room. We're actually having one later tonight after this. So I was kind of the person that I wasn't originally involved in it. Kazdan and our friend Parker created it together for a class that they took. It was a documentary class, but they had a mockumentary assignment. And they ended up making a mockumentary that they called Subletter. They called in my friend Diego. So Diego, fun fact, so everybody else is from college. Diego is a friend from high school. We actually met my senior year, his junior year of high school in our environmental science class.
Sweet. And
hit it off, got along famously, and here we are. They called him in and were like, okay, so we're just going to make like a short, like 5-minute mockumentary where this poor, unassuming English major moves in with a bunch of obnoxious film majors. Go. And they kind of just improv'd the heck out of it. And it was hilarious. And the professor loved it. And he ended up going like, hey, why don't you, for their final assignment, they were supposed to make like an actual documentary. And he was like, but I'm going to let you guys make a longer version of Subletter. So thus was born the 17-minute version of Subletter. All of this actually is also available. You can watch like the older versions of it on our YouTube channel too.
Heck yeah.
Then there was the 17-minute version. And then Kazan took a class that was called multi-camera television directing. And he pitched for his final project doing a Subletter live, like a live sitcom episode, basically. And I was there in the audience laughing and clapping and stuff. And after that, I was kind of like, guys, you need to make more of this. You need to make more of this, like, obviously. So I spent like around a year just kind of going like, we're going to make more of this, right? Whatever I can do to help, let me know. And my role was really just saying, we're all going to get together and talk about this. And that's kind of how I became one of the producers of the show, because I was just like, I feel so strongly that y'all need to make more of this and that you can make more of it and you can make something really good, that I'm going to make you all get together and talk about it. And let's try to make a plan. So that's my main role. I did end up acting in episode 2, which was fun. But yeah, I'm more of like an organizer, I would say. And sometimes I hold the camera.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Where would you guys like to see the show go?
I mean, it would be really cool if we like were able to make it into like a real television show. That's something that we're sort of working towards. Just kind of getting our ideas together. We've been working on kind of like a pitch document to shop around and see if we can get interest in it. So ideally, we would still have control of it, and like we would all be part of the package. It's like something we've talked about where like if we get somewhere, like we're all going or we're not going at all. For me too, I would really love to stay in Austin. I don't want to have to take it somewhere else. And I think that like the Austin-ness of it is a big part of the show, and hopefully a part of the appeal of the show, like the specificity of the place. And it's not a place that has a bunch of shows about it anyway. So, you know what I mean? Like what?
That's a good point.
You know?
I don't know that I've ever watched a movie or a TV show that was solely focused or even really mentioned Austin.
There's plenty of movies. One of our big inspirations is Slacker. You know Richard Linklater?
Nope.
This is like exactly this is such an Emma moment, right? I'm like, oh, you don't know this director?
The culture, the lack of culture in my head is embarrassing.
No, it's not. We just have different like areas of interest, and like film is mine. So I'm always going to be like, oh, you know Richard Linklater. So he is a director from Texas. I think he's actually from Houston, but he moved to Austin in his 20s, and he actually wanted to go to UT to do film school, and they totally rejected him. And he was like, fuck it, I'm doing it by myself. And he has made a career for himself. So you've heard of Dazed and Confused?
Yeah.
That's Richard Linklater.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. So, and like all of his movies pretty much are based in Texas.
Okay.
And like set in Texas. So he has this one called Slacker. I think it came out in 1992 or something. Yeah, something like that. And it's kind of just like a day in the life of Austinites. So like,
cool.
It's one of those things. His movies are very like plot comes second and just like slice of life, like dropping in on a character's life for a day comes first. So that movie is one where you spend the whole movie like going kind of from like person to person or group to group, and you spend whatever 5 to 10 minutes with different groups of people doing their weird, eccentric little Austin things. And that's like a huge inspiration for our friend group. We love Slackers so much.
I'll have to give it a watch.
Yeah, check it out.
Okay. Can it still be found?
Definitely. Okay. Yeah.
So for Subletter, is this something where the dream would be to like, because TV's not like cable isn't really a thing anymore. So would it be like, we'd like to get picked up by Peacock or, you name the app or service, but is that almost the goal for filmmakers now is you want to get picked up by one of those apps or networks?
It would be cool to get picked up, but I think we're thinking that it's maybe a little bit more realistic that we get picked up somewhere to stream. Getting a cable television deal would be cool just because the way that you get paid works differently. I think that's like a part of like, I am not going to pretend that I know everything that they talked about during the strikes. Okay. Sure. But I think that was like a really big part of it for writers and actors, is that the way that they get paid for things that they've made in the past is drastically different when it comes to streaming versus like syndicated television. So like when you have a television show like Friends, say that it was huge and got syndicated, and even years after it has ended, it airs and airs and airs, and the actors and the writers and whoever get a check every time it airs, even if it's like tiny, but like that adds up over time. And they didn't build anything like that into contracts for streaming services. So you make something, you get paid to make it, and then they can use it or not use it until the end of time, and they don't have to pay you any more than they did that one time that you made it. So it'd be really cool if we actually were on like television.
Right.
But obviously I think the reach is bigger through a streaming service. We also just are trying to figure out what network or streaming service like matches our kind of like vibe and mentality, and would like not only A, pick us up, but B, like would, kind of let us keep our voice and not have us change it too much. Like when I think about a Netflix show, I'm like, I just feel like Netflix would want to like change too much about it or something. Sorry, Netflix. No Netflix slander. I like Netflix, but
we do love Netflix.
But yeah, I'm like, we've been trying to. So I'm like, I pointed to I love HBO. I'm like a huge HBO fan. So I'm like, if I had a show that was on HBO, I would lose my mind. We talked about It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and like FX is a network that has a lot of shows that we really like identify with. So like there's definitely places that we've seen that we're like, this feels like we could fit in here maybe if the right person sees our stuff. But yeah, we're hoping to make it into the real deal, like a real TV show. What that's going to look like, I can't say. I don't know. I think a lot of it is going to come down to like luck and like who we get in front of and whether or not they like us,
Right. Obviously, life changes. So in 2 years, your goals might look drastically different than they do now. At this point in your life, what would it look like to have, quote unquote, made it?
That's a hard question because I don't know. I don't know if, I mean...
Show on HBO, I think.
Yeah, show on HBO.
Show on HBO would be like, a pretty good one.
Yeah, that having just getting recognition for whatever I've been working on and like being able to make money from it. Cause right now, so like you mentioned in my bio, and I wrote that. So I'm like, I do have my service industry day job night job. I work a lot of nights, but I do have that job that actually pays my bills. But if the thing that paid my bills was this stuff that I like put so much care and effort into, that would be really cool.
Yeah. It would be awesome if this paid my bills.
No, yeah, exactly. I'm like, so if I could pay my rent because of my podcast or because of my show, that would be making it to me.
Do you happen to have any kind of stats around how many people still watch TV versus streaming?
I don't.
You don't? Yeah, I can't remember the last time I watched cable TV, but then that's why I love talking to people and getting different perspectives of like, you would want your show on TV. Just because of the way that you'd get paid and whatnot. I learned something about music that musicians only get like it's 0.0004 cents a stream or something. So one of my buddies told me that if I ever really want to support a band, just buy merch when you go to their show, because that $25 shirt is the equivalent to like 20,000 listens. And he's like, no matter how good the music is, are you really going to listen to any band songs 20,000 times?
That's true.
But if you just buy a t-shirt from them, and I love my band. Yeah, I'm wearing one right now. Shout out Tommy and Hartzell. But yeah, he was like, just go buy the shirts.
Yeah. It's doing stuff like that. It's seeing them live. So actually, let me also add a band that is great to see live, that I've seen live twice with my group of friends. We love them. We actually use their song for our theme song on Subletter. They're called Black Country New Road. They were one of my top artists on my Spotify Wrapped that came out today. And they're a British like alternative rock band that are really cool. They're like a bunch of young people like us, but they're really into like live performance and improv and stuff. So each show is different, and they're really talented young musicians. So like seeing them live is crazy. They put on a great show. So recommend Black Country New Road. Yeah. Yeah,
I liked your list because it was completely different than mine. So I'm gonna look up all. I know who David Bowie is, but and obviously I know who the Beatles are, but like Indigo Girls, I think I recognize that name, but I probably know their music once I heard it. But like, and who's this one? How do you say that name? Because I would butcher it.
Oh, I don't even like, I'll be honest, I don't know how to pronounce that. But so there's this album that is, I think it's called like Ethiopics or something. And it's this like Ethiopian like pianist. And it's really interesting, like instrumental piano music.
Okay.
I am trying to remember, like, I remember hearing it there was a movie that came out on Netflix a couple years ago called Passing that used a lot of their music. So that's how I was introduced to them. And then also our friend Parker used a song of hers in like a documentary he made for a class. So we have just as a friend group have started to kind of listen to this artist that like I said, I can't even pronounce the name, but it's really beautiful piano songs.
I'm assuming the first word is Emahoy, but I don't even want to try to pronounce. I would butcher the second name.
No, see, I'm like, I don't know how to say it either.
Teague, maybe? I could almost see like that one, either the T or the S is probably silent.
Teague. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know.
So as we were talking about on the phone and before the show, you and me we're just two people. We are not professors on all things Gen Z. We're just, we observe, we're just going through life. Mm-hmm. But I am curious, and this is a very broad question, and I'm not getting at anything specific here. I'm just genuinely curious to see how you answer it. What do you think about your generation?
I don't know. I think that like, despite the kind of jokes that we make and stuff, because I think that every generation goes through that thing where you have like a really like nihilistic phase or something like that. But I actually think that we're a very hopeful generation who has a lot of passion about a lot of things, and we care so much about the things that we care about, which I love. I'm like, even if it's not something I care about, I'm like, I love to listen to somebody else talk about something that they really care about. Like, It's awesome. I'm like, what do I think about my generation? I don't know. Sometimes I feel a little bit disconnected from Gen Z. That said, though, I'm more Gen Z than my sister, and she's only 2 years older than me. I always kind of called myself a zillennial, but she is definitely more of a zillennial than me. I'm like, she is like zillennial leaning millennial, and I'm zillennial leaning Gen Z.
Gotcha.
So there's things that about me that I think make me feel disconnected from Gen Z. Some of it is honestly like the fact that I didn't grow up. I don't know if this is not a specifically Gen Z thing, but I actually just didn't grow up watching television that much. It was a choice that my parents made. Like, we didn't have cable television at my house for a long time. We just had like whatever like couple of like channels that you could get without having all of that.
Yeah.
So we had like PBS or whatever. And so it's like I was a PBS kid, but I didn't watch the Disney Channel. Like the Disney Channel was a special treat whenever I went to hotels or something. So it's like, oh, we're in a hotel. Like me and my sister were like immediately like we get to watch Camp Rock on the Disney Channel tonight. Awesome. Or High School Musical or whatever. But I didn't grow up watching like shows. Like a lot of people talk about all these Nickelodeon and Disney shows and stuff that I'm like, I just didn't grow up watching those things. So I can't relate to. I'm like, you're I know you're quoting something right now. Like, people love SpongeBob and Drake and Josh are specifically two shows that people like. There's a lot of inside jokes and memes about that I'm just like, this is kind of lost on me. I don't know what we're talking about right now. There's stuff like that. I didn't grow up watching video games at all because playing video games at all because my parents were just like kind of anti-video game. I didn't grow up playing video games. So there's like weird things like that where I'm like, I don't know. I didn't even play that many computer games. Not that I didn't play on the computer at all. Like I did. I spent a lot of time on like the Barbie website. And even though my mom would not let us play with Bratz because she didn't like them, I spent a lot of time on the Bratz website, like playing their games on there. I had webkins when I was a kid. So I was like, it's like, there's stuff like that I'm like, that is very Gen Z. But there's other stuff where I'm like, I don't feel as connected to my generation as I could on some of those fronts. But I don't know. We're complicated. Like, because like, I think we're a little bit too comfortable, like on the internet. We have gotten to a point now where people are like starting to be way more conscious of like what their kids are doing on the internet and like, I don't know, the kind of things that you can interact with on the internet if you're just out there. So like, even though I remember having it like ingrained in me in elementary school, like not to talk to strangers, like stranger danger, whatever. I still just like was like surfing the web like when I was in elementary school, and like I should not have, like we should not have just been able to like go surf the internet like that. I think that people are a lot more conscious of stuff like that now, not posting their kids on the internet. Thank God my parents are like super like, they are not on social media like at all, so they were never posting me. There's nothing for me to go back and be like, oh my God, like why did they post this picture of me when I was 12 and I look so ugly and like whatever, there's nothing like that out there for me to be embarrassed about. The things that are out there on the internet for me to be embarrassed about are things that I posted myself when I was 11 years old on Instagram. So,
But even then, it was just mostly just like nature pictures, or did you take down all the stuff that you would have dubbed embarrassing?
I took down some of it because, I don't know, pictures of like One Direction or something. It's like, sure. I took down some of that stuff, but I also have I have a kind of a weird Instagram relationship with Instagram where I'm like, I feel like I use it because I was a little bit too young to be part of the MySpace generation. Like that wasn't really a thing by the time I was getting on the internet. But I was a very early adopter of Instagram because it was like 2011 when I downloaded it. I was 11 years old, 11 or 12. It was the summer between 5th and 6th grade. Like I know this specifically. And I didn't even know what social media was. Like I had no really like concept of like what I was, and also what social media has changed a lot over time, and the way that we use it has changed a lot over time. But I didn't really get like, I'm posting this for other people to see and they can like it, or people can follow me and I follow other people. Like I didn't even know what I was doing. I really wanted a photo editing app. So I downloaded Instagram because it had filters on it. And I just started posting stuff, but I didn't even like understand what it meant to like post something on the internet. But now I'm at a point where, and at some point it's like, I started doing this in high school. It's like, I don't really delete stuff. And I've always had my profile public, which I wouldn't even let my kids do like now, but I'm okay with it because I'm an adult now. But I kind of like using Instagram as an archive of my internet presence. So like, I think the way a lot of people use Facebook is how I use Instagram. So it's interesting that Facebook ended up buying Instagram, but I use it kind of just as like, here is like a log of my internet presence. And how I've like used Instagram over time has changed a lot.
It is funny, like you say how we use it, because you have someone like me who will go in and I post and I get out, because if I start I just can't,
Certified doom scroller.
I between the podcast and it's just not something I want to spend a lot of time on. And then I have people at the gym who use it to post shirtless pictures of themselves, and you have your fitness accounts, and they're not even necessarily trying to like monetize it or anything. It's just something they do because that's what all the other guys at the exact same gym are doing, and you can't be the only person with it, and so I don't know.
I try not to do stuff just because that's what everybody else is doing, but it's hard when you're like out there, I don't know, and like seeing how other people are interacting with it. It's like some people have no problem just doing their own thing. I'm like, I'm just going to post this weird picture and I don't care if it gets no likes. And I've definitely, because I like I said, I can be a very self-conscious person. And once I kind of grew out of like being 12 and being on Instagram and like not really understanding what it was, and became like self-conscious of the fact that like people are looking at this and like looking at me, and thinking something about me, even if they don't know me. And so I'm a little bit more closed off on there than I used to be honest. I still I post more on my story than I post on my feed. Just because I'm like, that goes away.
Right.
The feed is forever. Even though it's I know it doesn't have to be forever, but in my brain, I'm like, that is too permanent. That's too real. I have to really, it has to be something important for me to post about it on my feed.
Do you feel like you're doing anything proactively to be less self-conscious?
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, putting myself in different environments is helping. So I started this job that I have now. I work at the Roosevelt Room downtown, and that has helped me just because since graduating college, I haven't had I've had my social circle that I already had, but I haven't had any good avenues for meeting new people and making friends and stuff. And I was definitely feeling very, I don't know, just lost and a little bit isolated for the past year. So, and I was doing random gig work and stuff. So getting a consistent job definitely helped me. Other than that, I'm I don't think I'm doing anything, I guess, necessarily active. It's honestly just some of the different types of jobs that I've had. So last year, I had a brief stint as a canvasser. So I was going door to door and knocking on people's doors and saying, hey, are you voting in the next election? You should vote. Cool.
How was that?
It was interesting. I had to talk to so many different kinds of people. Sometimes they were positive interactions. Sometimes they were negative. Usually they were good, though, even if I had a difference of opinion about something from somebody. I always kind of made sure to let them know that the most important thing to me was that they were voting. I did not care who they were voting for. I was just go vote, please. And it just made me get better at talking to people I didn't know, because I was literally at their house knocking on their door, interrupting their day to be hey, how are you doing today? And sometimes they really didn't want to talk to you, so I kind of had to get over a little bit of a fear of rejection in that sense, just because it was some people don't want to talk to you, and that's cool. That's fine,
Yeah. There's someone who works a front desk at a gym, and I'm pretty sure he said this to me, but I'm 95% sure he told me once that he did it sort of to do what you were doing. He's I needed some way to force myself to interact with other humans, different humans on a regular basis. Yeah. Where can I do that? Front desk at a very busy gym. And he says it's helped him a ton. And I can tell it helps him a ton. In the year that I've known him, I've seen him come more and more out of his shell. And the way he interacts with people is really positive. And he has multiple people in that gym who stop by and just have conversations at the desk with him now. And
love that.
Yeah, I'm just look at this guy. He's thriving.
He's blossoming.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you have, would you say that Mankheads and Subletters are the main two things you're spending and then of course you have your night job. Is there any other projects that you're working on right now, or is it mostly those three things?
No, yeah, those are the main things. Yeah, so now I have I'm a host, and I also just work the floor at events and stuff at the Roosevelt Room and at their sister bar, the Eleanor. And being a host over there has been you just have to talk to people, and you have to be friendly, and you show them in, you're hey, how's your day going? Have you been here before or whatever? And I'm I'm getting a lot better at talking to people that I don't know. I mean, I feel this is the same thing I was talking about going to middle school and then going to high school, how I'll get up to a point and then go back down and then have to get myself back up. So I think my environment really impacts me. And when I'm not around people as much, and when I go for months where I'm having just kind of random gig work where I'm not really talking to as many people, I am not doing as well socially and mentally and emotionally or whatever. I'll start to feel isolated and feel nervous and self-conscious, and I'll feel less outgoing. And now where I'm working in a job where I have to just talk to people every day, it's a lot easier in any situation to just talk to somebody.
Yeah. Is it a bar, a restaurant? What kind of venue is it?
It's a craft cocktail bar.
How's the clientele there? Pretty chill?
Pretty chill. Okay. Yeah. A lot of people from out of town come in because it's the kind of place that makes it onto lists and stuff. So people are it's a really cool spot. If you ever want to check it out, Roosevelt Room.
I'll bring some friends and stop by sometime. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's very cool. And the cocktails are delicious.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else you wanted to talk about tonight?
I also just wanted to plug a little something called Creator Camp that my boyfriend is a co-founder of.
Yes, what is Creator Camp?
So Creator Camp is an edutech camp for kids that takes iPad kids and teaches them real valuable skills that they can use their iPads for. So I've taught at it a couple of summers. They have filmmaking classes. They just started one that's really popular. It's a YouTube class, actually. So because so many kids these days are like, I want to be a YouTuber, I want to be a YouTuber. So they were like, we're going to make a class and teach them how to make thumbnails and whatever, make a vlog, like whatever. They have like Minecraft coding classes. They have some really cool stuff. And it's definitely been it was a great experience for me, like teaching and like kind of getting back in touch with like, what are kids doing these days? Yeah. Like, how can we help them? You know, because like it's the kind of thing that it made me like, there were times where I was like, oh my God, the next generation like needs help. Like they do stuff like they only do speech to text or whatever. You cannot get them to type stuff sometimes. And I'm like, you need to know how to spell.
Interesting.
But then there's other kids who are like so skilled and already know like everything about coding. And you're like, that is so impressive. You're going so far. Like you've already got like a skill that is so valuable, and that like many adults don't have a skill like that that can get them somewhere in like the modern world. So it's a really, really cool company. I would definitely they just got featured in the Washington Post as well, actually.
Oh yeah, congratulations. So. That's awesome.
Creator Camp.
Just like creatorcamp.com.
.org.
.org. Okay, cool. I did have one last question for you.
Yeah.
You have been to France, Hawaii, San Francisco, New York City, the Galapagos Islands, Colonial Williamsburg, New Orleans, Rome, the Pompeii ruins, Stonehenge, Maryland, 29 Palms, Chicago, and potentially even more that you didn't
really
post.
Did a deep dive on my Instagram account.
I do. It's my job, you know?
Yeah.
I want to know who's coming on the show. So a couple questions. First one, why the desire to travel?
Because my parents travel. That's just like, it's
just
their
how
thing.
you grew up.
Yeah. So, and they've instilled a sense of adventure in me. Like I love to travel because they took me a lot of places when I was a kid. So yeah, a lot of those like going to France, that was when I was in like 4th grade or something, I think.
It was a while ago.
It was a long time ago. And my first like transatlantic experience was going to England, actually. So when I was like 7 years old, to visit like some of my dad's family that still lives over there. Yeah, my parents really love to travel, and they were like, we always traveled. So like now I still try to travel. You know, I can't afford to do the things that my parents can do, but I don't know. Yeah, I love to travel. The Galapagos Islands was actually my senior trip after high school. That was like the place I wanted to go to. So we went on a little cruise as a family to Ecuador, which was really cool. It was like my dream like trip. Very cool.
And was it everything you hoped it would be and more?
Yeah, it was so cool. It was so cool to get to explore, and like I was always kind of obsessed with it because me and my dad spent a lot of time watching like nature documentaries when I was a kid, and of course like the Galapagos Islands is this like almost mythical like place, you know, where Darwin like discovered these things that he was like, oh, like evolution is a thing, like this birds on this island, isn't it the finches or something, his finches, like he noticed that they had like different shaped beaks on the different islands, and they had to like adapt and evolve over time to like live on the different terrains of the different islands. I just am like, yeah, I think the Galapagos Islands is this place of like mythical proportions in terms of like just like biology and ecology and stuff. So it was a really cool place to go.
So when you're traveling, it sounds like you have like nature, you have stuff to do, you have architecture. Is there do you sort of seek places that are more nature-y, or do you just enjoy all of it combined?
I like it all. Yeah. Because my family likes to do those kinds of vacations where we're like out in nature. I think the first thing we did like that was we went to Alaska when I was in like, I think the summer after 5th grade, same summer I downloaded Instagram. And that trip was like totally about like you went out and you hiked and you like saw stuff. And that was also when I was starting to get into photography around that age. So I discovered macro photography then, and I was taking all these pictures of flowers and stuff. Nature photography is definitely like my first love when it comes to photography. So like we have those kind of vacations, but we also like I've been to New York and LA like a bunch of times because my family just like, we just travel, and like those are like 2 cultural touchstones in our country. Yeah. So, and my mom is very much gonna make a whole itinerary. We have a plan. We're not sitting on our asses when we go somewhere. We're walking around. We're going to museums specifically because my mom used to work at a museum before she had me and my sister. So we're very much like, you go, you get the culture, you go, you learn things, you see things, you experience things, you eat good food. Like, you do all this stuff. You don't sit in your hotel room or like eat McDonald's. You go experience the place that you're in. So I'm really thankful to them for like instilling that in me.
What's one of the best meals you've ever had while traveling?
Oh my gosh. That is a really hard question. Oh my God. There was this restaurant in New York. I don't think it's open anymore, but it was called Boulet, which I think means apple or
Sweet.
something. And it's, fine dining like French cuisine, but it was just an incredible experience. I don't even remember what I ate there, but I just remember being blown away by the experience at that restaurant. And something that really stood out to me, and it wasn't even the food, it was like about the atmosphere of the restaurant, was because it was called Boulet, and I'm pretty sure that means apple, I'm not sure. But when you walked into like the foyer, like entrance area room of that restaurant, it was like a wall of like actual apples, and it had this just like apple like aroma in the restaurant. So you get there and you were like, I am in for an experience.
Right.
I love something that's like very much like a dining like experience. And that was one of those.
This is not known for their food, but have you ever been to the Rainforest Cafe by chance?
I haven't. Okay, so I have a thing about this because I actually have never been to the Rainforest Cafe. There is one. So in San Antonio, there's one on the Riverwalk.
Okay.
If you know San Antonio, anything about San Antonio, you know that we have the Riverwalk.
Yep.
I think it's super overrated. It's one of my hot takes about San Antonio. I think that the Riverwalk is like kind of stinky and not that impressive. But
Bummer, San Antonio.
sorry, San Antonio. There's a lot of other cool stuff to do in San Antonio. And you know what? I think that they've cleaned it up over the past couple of years. So maybe don't take my word for it because I don't live there anymore. But there's a Rainforest Cafe there, and my mom, like, I don't know why, she never wanted to take us there. She was like, I don't really want to sacrifice my time or, like, good food to take you guys to the Rainforest Cafe, so she bought us shirts from there, but she never took us there to eat, and I still, to this day, have never eaten there.
Okay. Well, that is hilarious that you had t-shirts or sweaters, whatever they were, shirts.
I had merch. Yep.
The first time I went, I was 19 years old, and I went to the one in San Francisco, and growing up, I thought just like anything jungle related was awesome. So like Jungle Cruise at Disneyland, freaking fantastic. I don't know. I just had like a weird thing for jungles. And so some of my friends didn't know. I had no idea what this place was. And so we all went. And I remember walking in there. I was just like, oh my God.
They really curate a vibe in there.
It's quite, yeah, again, like, the food, it's not bad, but you definitely don't go there for like a 5-star course meal, right? It's you
for
go,
the experience.
You really just go to see the animals and the storms and the trees. And
yeah.
You should go sometime.
Yeah.
You take her on a date night. Go
yeah,
back.
honestly.
Yeah.
One of our friends is talking about having his birthday dinner there. So
I
we
hope
might
he does
be
it.
going.
Who? Which friend?
Sheldon. He's actually one of the main characters on Subletter too.
I'm going to find this guy on Instagram and just be like, he's not even going to know who I am. I'm going to slide into his DMs and be like, this is your sign that you should be at Rainforest Cafe for your birthday.
Go to the Rainforest Cafe.
Yeah. Subletter and Mankheads podcast. Main place you want people to go is YouTube, correct?
Yes, at Mankheads on YouTube.
At Mankheads on YouTube. Go subscribe. If you stuck around with us for the last hour and 48 minutes, I'm assuming that you enjoyed this conversation as I have very much. I'd also very much appreciate it if you would subscribe to David's Saturday Night Sit Back on YouTube. And I just want to say you have an awesome energy about you. And there's something about you where I feel like you're going to make it. Like whether it's through Subletter or through the podcast. It goes back to that comment that lady made, that you're just very refreshing. And I don't know, I just believe in you for some reason. There's something there. I know it'll happen. So we'll see where it goes.
Thank you for saying that. I feel the same way about you, but when we had our phone conversation before this, I was like, you are so easy to talk to and welcoming. I don't feel nervous about this at all. Like, thank you for having me. This has been a wonderful experience. And on that phone call, you were like, "Oh, I don't have anything to talk about. You don't want to have me on the show." And I feel like we could have easily gone for another hour. So you definitely have a lot to offer, and you brought a lot to the table. And I really appreciate you doing it on this podcast. So thank you. Thank you.
Yep. All right, everyone. Well, have a healthy and happy Saturday night. We will see you next week for another episode of David's Saturday Night Sit Back. See ya.